Hey guys, it's Mel. Welcome back to my kitchen and welcome back to another What's for Dinner. Tonight is a continuation, part 2 of my progressive dinner, where I'm using up leftovers that I had, and I'll bring you a couple of new things that we got in a previous grocery order that I wanted to show you. And I'm going to redeem myself with a big crock pot full of meatballs. So sit back, relax, grab a glass of sweet tea, and let me do the cooking. So, happy Easter. Just kidding. It's really just plain old August. But I'm going to start tonight's What's for Dinner with an Easter-inspired meal. I'm going to start out by cutting up some sweet potatoes. I just had a couple of really big sweet potatoes that I had got from the store, but they do take a little while to cook up, so I cut them as small as I could. I just put them in a greased casserole dish, put 3 or 4 little pats of butter on them, and sprinkle them with brown sugar. And I put just a little bit of cinnamon sprinkled over the top. Now you could roast these on a sheet pan, would be a whole lot more healthier, but since I had ham left over from last week, I wanted this to feel more like an Easter dinner, like a sweet potato casserole. So I just covered them and went ahead and put them in the oven, which I have set at 350 degrees for my corn casserole. So now let's get that together. In a greased casserole dish, I'm going to put 1 box of Jiffy cornbread mix, 1 can of cream style corn, 1 can of whole kernel sweet corn, but I have drained it, and that will be 8 ounces of sour cream, then you're going to have a stick of melted butter, and you're just going to mix all of that together. I just do this in my greased casserole dish. This is about a 9 by 13. That way I don't have any extra bowls to wash. This corn casserole is sweet and savory. It's wonderful as a side dish for any occasion, and it's so quick and easy to make. My family loves this, and it really goes a long way. It is something that we love to have whenever we have holiday ham. There's something about ham and corn that is so good together. And you have your bread kind of in this too. Once you get it all mixed up really well, I just take maybe a cup of cheddar cheese. I just kind of cover the top of it with the shredded cheese. Then I do cover it with aluminum foil, and this bakes about 30 to 35 minutes in the 350 degree oven. Now here is the rest of that ham that I had left over from last week, where I had made ham and beans, and I just put it in a little casserole dish, and I just take a little bit of brown sugar and I really pat it on around the top of it and around the sides, and I'll even try to put a little bit of it down in between the slices, just so it can get all in there and really gives a good flavor to this ham. It is fully cooked. All you have to do here is just heat it up. Once again, I'm covering it with aluminum foil, and I'm just going to stick it in the bottom rack of the oven while the rest of that is baking up. It took me a little while to mix that up, so then when I put it in, I just pull out my sweet potatoes and I just kind of toss them around. The butter has melted, and I just want to be sure and get everything coated in the brown sugar and the cinnamon and the butter. So I'm just going to give them a little toss, and then I'll cover them and stick them back in the oven and let them cook a little bit longer. And out comes the corn casserole. You can see the pretty cheese has melted over the top of that, and the cornbread mix has just baked up in there. And then out come my sweet potatoes, and they have got very soft, and they are just sweet and gooey. And then here is our little brown sugar ham. You can see the kernels of corn as I begin to scoop out that casserole. I made some green beans to go on the side, and this was a super quick and super easy Easter dinner. When we sat down to eat, I was just thinking, why did I not make deviled eggs? This would have been perfect. And I threw a little can of baked beans out on the side too. We like to have baked beans with ham too. This was a wonderful, delicious stick to your rib meal. And the corn casserole, of course, we'll have leftovers of that to use later in the week. Corn casserole is very good with pinto beans, but I swear we won't have pinto beans again this week. If you watch my channel, you remember a few weeks ago when I totally destroyed some meatballs. Let's give it another try. I had been craving these old Crockpot meatballs. So once again, I got me a Crockpot liner. This time I used my smaller Crockpot so my meatballs wouldn't be all spread out. They'd be on top of each other. And I got to thinking, normally when I make these, I'm using 2 bags. I'm usually making them for a wedding or baby shower or something, and I'll have 2 or 3 bags in that crock pot. This was just for us, so I've got 1 bag of meatballs, 15-ounce jar of grape jelly, and then just a regular size barbecue sauce. Mix that together, pour it over them in the crock pot, cook them on high for about 2 hours. Then I cut them back to low and just let them sit there another hour, and then I just put them on warm. Now, I have seen my friend Paislie, I will link her channel below. She made some homemade taquitos, and she used some cheese and cream cheese. But I had all those beans last week, and I made refried beans after I had my pinto beans. So I thought, I'm going to try that with just these refried beans. So I just had mixed a little bit of shredded cheese down into them, and I put them in some flour tortillas, rolled them up, and put them on a sheet pan. We were having a snack night dinner this night, so I had enough refried beans to make 3 pretty good size taquitos. I sprayed them with some nonstick spray, and I put them in the oven at 400 degrees just with our regular store-bought frozen taquitos. And I still had the last chicken salad left over that I had made and croissants, so I just made us a few of those up and cut them in half, trying to get rid of all my leftovers. We've thoroughly enjoyed them, but we were about to get tired of repurposing them. So I'm just making this up in a cute little platter that I had. Those, I believe, the store-bought taquitos may have been a chicken and cheese one. And then there's my giant bean ones, bean and cheese that I made. Got some salsa and some cheese dip. We're going to have tortilla chips on the side. Colby Jack cheese cubes and some wheat thins. I had some strawberries. I didn't know about putting my food actually touching this galvanized tray, so I got to thinking about that, and I just put a few pieces of fruit, left them on the wooden cutting board. I've got a whole big bowl full of strawberries, our chicken salad croissants. We had the tortilla chips with salsa and cheese, our taquitos, cheese cubes, wheat thins, and there are my meatballs. There's Patrick fixing up his plate. Look how good. That's how meatballs in the crock pot are supposed to look. They were so delicious. Here's my plate, and I'm going to show you what the inside. You don't see any burn ring this week. They're like butter. They are so tender when you cook them in that crock pot, and the best flavor out of that grape jelly. Now I wanted to throw in here another little something. This is cracked chicken. This recipe's been around a long time now, but I thought I would throw it in. Use 3 big chicken breasts in the crock pot, an envelope of ranch seasoning, a big block of cream cheese. Put the lid on it, and you just let it cook on high for about 3 to 4 hours. When we came back in, I just took my little meat chopper down in there and started chopping and shredding everything up and mixing it together. And then you're going to throw you some shredded cheddar cheese, and I did not even cook bacon. I just had a bag of bacon bits. Put that in once everything's cooked and mix it all together. This would also be wonderful in a wrap if you wanted just to eat it like that, or you could put it in the oven and crisp it up like taquitos. We ate ours on slider buns. It's good just as a dip. This is a very tasty, versatile cracked chicken that I'm sure everybody has seen. Now, late one evening, my husband, he had been out mowing and everything, and he come back in. He said, I'm hungry for something. So I said, hey, we have that barbecue we got a couple weeks back, and I will link the grocery haul where I got this and a couple of new different items. But this barbecue was very good, and all I had to do was throw it in the microwave for like 3 minutes. I pulled him out some of that corn casserole, put that on a bun, and that was a good dinner for him. Well, second dinner for him that night when he came in. So those are just a couple of convenient, easy things that you can make when you don't have a lot of time. Now for our last meal this week, I've got a Swiss pork chops, and these were so good. You need just a little bit of chicken broth for this. This is the first time I've used the Better Than Bouillon condensed base for chicken, and you just get a cup of very hot water, and you put in 2 tablespoons of the chicken base to a cup of water, I believe it is. And you just mix that in, and I'm just showing you, it does just dissolve so beautifully. And then you take you a bag of croutons and crush it up. You could do this in a food processor if you want to, but I didn't want mine just pulverized. I wanted some big chunks in it too. So I would just beat it a little bit, and then I'd open it up and let a little air out and squish it with my hands until I got it about the size that I wanted. And this is the first time I've ever made this little recipe. I have made Swiss chicken before, and that Swiss cheese really does give this a good flavor. So you see, I'm taking half of a stick of butter, and you're just going to melt that and then put it in the bottom of a 9x13 casserole dish. Get it coated good, and then put your pork chops right down into that butter. How can you go wrong with it sitting in butter? It's off to a really good start. Going to come in and season your chops. I just used salt and pepper. There was plenty of seasoning in the croutons, so I didn't worry about putting a lot on the actual pork chop itself. Come in with your Swiss cheese slices and just cover all of the pork. Then you're going to take a can of cream of chicken soup and about 6 tablespoons of the chicken broth. Mix those two together. I just put my broth down in that can to kind of loosen up anything that was left in there. Then I just poured it over into that soup, mix it up really well, and spread it across of your cheese. Then you're just going to sprinkle your croutons over the top and get them spread out really good. You'll cook this for about 35 minutes at 350 degrees. As always, I'll have any recipes that I have typed out or linked below for you. And I just left this little clip in here because am I the only one that cleans as you go? A lot of people say they make a deal that, if they cook, their spouse will clean or vice versa. Hey, I don't mind cleaning up after myself because I clean as I go. Do y'all do that? Let me know. Or do you just wait and have everything to clean up at the end? And you'll see I pulled out some leftovers. I'm going to get rid of them. We're going to eat them up with this. So here come the Swiss pork chops. These were so good. It was just something different than a chicken casserole with that stuffing mix. These little croutons made a very flavorful topping for that, and they were so good. You can see how thin mine are coming out here, and that Swiss cheese, it was so gooey in there. That just made it perfect. And I'll just go around the side and get a little extra bit of stuffing to put on the top of mine. These were our sweet potatoes, our leftover corn casserole. Those were some of those instant mashed potatoes I got back in that grocery haul, those Applewood smoked bacon. I just have to tell you, we weren't really a fan of those. If I'm going to do instant mashed potatoes, I believe I just like the plain buttery kind and then doctor them up myself. But guys, I hope you have enjoyed another week of these. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found something that you can use, a new way to stretch your leftovers to get rid of them, just something fun and different to do. And if you're watching this week, we are out of town this weekend. My daughter is finally getting to walk for her graduation from college. She graduated back in December, but they did not get to have a ceremony. So say a prayer for us this weekend. We're so proud of her and all that she's accomplished. I appreciate you watching so much. If you're new, thank you for stopping in. If you've been here a while, I appreciate you coming back. If you've not subscribed, be sure to do it. And until next week, I send you love from my kitchen.